Well, hello there, wiggers and niggers. It's Uppity White Guy again, your boy. And, you know, I've been told, hey, Uppity, you should talk about something more current, like not something from 1895 or something. But, okay, I understand. But some of these topics I've been talking about recently were just on my frontal lobe, you know, and they were just banging my head to get out, so there's lots of stuff in the news. But, you know, I just wanted to get all that shit out of my head. Because it's shit that, well, was in my skull. So, okay, so today, this is another one of our 10-cent talks. This might be a 20-cent talk. Shootings. Now, I'm not talking about the south side of Chicago. You niggas know what you're doing. I'm talking about, you know, other shootings. Shootings that make the news. Because there's double digits in Chicago every weekend. And the Democrats say they care. They care. But they never mention these shootings. Because it's black on black. So they don't care. They can't use that to move their agenda, their anti-white, oh, we love you black people agenda, which is all a crock of shit. So, okay. In Maine, the other day, a white guy went around and shot up 22 people, killed 22 fucking people. And goddammit, just like that, Joe Biden, and empty-headed fuck that he is, and everybody else, oh, the guns, the guns, the guns. Let me tell you something. Over there, I got, in my kitchen, I got like a center table thing, which I eat at, but normally I just throw shit on. It looks a mess. I gotta clean that shit up. There's a .40 caliber on the table. That usually goes with me in the car. Because it does. Because it's a dangerous world. But when I come home and stuff, put it on the table. With my wallet and shit like that for the morning. In the table, there's a drawer. There's a couple drawers. In one drawer you pull out, I have boxes and boxes of ammo. And another 9mm. Over here, which you can't see, I have a bunch of weights, which, I don't know, it doesn't look like I do anything with them. But I have a bunch of weights and shit, and leaning against the wall is a shotgun. So, in other words, if you come to touch my Mustang, yeah, you're not going to leave the driveway, probably. But, basically, it's for my protection and so forth. 3 guns, I know people that have a shit ton more. But everybody spends their money on something. I think 3's enough. You know. I might get one of those scary AR guns, but not right now, because Uppity White Guy just had some bills and shit like that, so, you know. But, you know, someday I might add to the collection. But I'm not a gun nut. But it's nice to have a gun and then a backup and so forth and so on, because, you know, it's nice to be able to defend yourself if you have to. That's all. Not a big deal. But one thing I've noticed is that I've had these guns for years, and man, they're just sitting there. They haven't killed anybody yet. I don't know, just sitting there. The .40 caliber's just sitting there. It hasn't shot anybody yet. And the shotgun's been leaning up against the wall. It hasn't blown anyone's head off yet. I don't know, but if you listen to Democrats, these guns are floating around shooting everybody. I don't know. So, we'll get to the guy in Maine in a second. But one thing I noticed is always school shootings. School shootings. They're probably going to be one in the goddamn next 6 months. Because there just always seem to be school shootings now. And I think back in you know, none of this shit happened when I was a kid, you know, back in Fred Flintstone's day. Nobody shot up the fucking school. I mean, kids sometimes brought nunchucks and stupid shit to school. I saw one kid in the bathroom stuffing nunchucks down his pants one time. But you know, nobody had a gun. Nobody had a gun. And you think to yourself, why are people all of a sudden shooting people at school? And if you go back to the 70s and the 80s even, you know, especially down south, you know, good old boys would come drive to school in their pickup truck and there'd be gun racks in the back and there'd be a loaded shotgun, which they would leave in the truck when they went to class. Nobody got shot. They didn't come back into school with it. Nobody cared that it was in their truck. Either people didn't notice or nobody gave a fuck. It was just part of the scenery. It was like, oh yeah, this is the South. You know, Billy Bob, that's a shotgun there in the back of the truck, but nobody got shot. I don't know, something happened between now and then. What do you think it could have been? Have any idea? Oh, according to the Democrats, you know what it was? Billy Bob didn't have an AR-15. Because if he had an AR-15, instead of just, you know, a double barrel or whatever in the back of his truck, well, the AR-15 would have been calling to him during math class, and it would have possessed him, and he would have went out, got it, came back in and shot the school up, because that's what those guns do. Apparently. According to the retard Democrats. It's not the story. In 1998, Kip Kinkle, unless I'm pronouncing this wrong, shot his mother, stepfather, and then 22 classmates. He was withdrawn from Prozac, and he'd been prescribed Ritalin. Christopher Pittman was withdrawing from Luvox and from Paxil. He killed his paternal grandparents in 2001. Elizabeth Bush, who fired at fellow students in Williamsport, Pennsylvania in 2001, was on Prozac. Jason Hoffman was on, I can't even pronounce this shit, Effexor and Celaexa or something, when he opened fire in California, wounding 5. Sean Cooper of Notus, Idaho, was on antidepressants when he fired a shotgun on his students and staff. T.J. Solomon was on antidepressants, wounding 6 in a Georgia high school. Eric Harris was taking Luvox, there's that Luvox again, and he and fellow student Dylan Klebold killed 12 students and a teacher, wounding 24 others and turning their guns on themselves at Columbine. You remember Columbine? Yeah. Antidepressants. When I went to school, not one kid was on fucking drugs. But these drugs, you can't prove it. They have nothing to do with it. There's no side effects at all. In fact, the kids need to be on them. The fuck? Not one of those kids need to be on any of this shit. But nobody's held responsible. It's the guns. And of course, the mainstream media, they ain't gonna tell you this shit. Because some of their advertising revenue is the pharmaceutical companies. Oh. Damn, nigga. You didn't see that coming, did you? No, of course you didn't. When I was younger, again, in Fred Flintstone's days, not one kid was on any kind of drugs. Not one kid. And let me tell you, high school sucked. Okay? I was, believe it or not, I was probably worse looking than this in high school. I was about 30 pounds lighter, and I was on crutches a lot. From middle school through college, I was on crutches. I lost count so many times. So I was the 130-pound cripple that's always on crutches. You think I pulled any tail? Fuck no! So you're going through high school. You're probably getting picked on, maybe. If you're me, you're on crutches routinely. You're scrawny. You got no car. You got no cool car. I didn't have an IROC. I was more of a Mustang man anyway. But I didn't have a 5.0. Shit, no. I had no money, on crutches, 30 pounds lighter, and I wasn't pulling any tail. Damn! Talk about depression? Nigga, please! Fuck, that's enough to make anybody depressed. For a lot of kids, that span of years is not friendly. It's not friendly. It's rough. And other kids make it rougher. Believe me. So, it's very rough. So these psychiatrists, which are mainly full of shit, and these pharmaceutical companies come in, and they're picking the bones. They are opportunists. Most of these people should be in jail. Quite frankly. They're turning these kids into walking pharmaceutical experiments. Of course they're depressed. Also, the educational system has failed them. Back when kids used to be able to pay attention, now people's attention spans are pretty much 5 seconds and they're all looking around. They're distracted. You can blame this on TV, phones, computers. You can blame it on lots of shit. Okay? But their attention spans are that of a flea. And then you add in the fact that for most kids, unless maybe you're Bill Gates or something, or Elon Musk, math is very boring. It's just very fucking boring. You're just doing problem after problem on a paper and nobody can see how it's related to anything. I still don't know fucking how algebra works in the real world. I don't know what the fuck it's related to. I went in the television field for 20-something years. I never used math once. Some fields don't have math, which is a godsend because I can't do it. But you understand, you just do these problems on a piece of paper, it's very boring. So kids tend to not pay attention. And that's a failure of the education system. It's a failure of teachers. It's a failure of the education system. And here we go. There's a difference between male and female. Don't tell a feminist that shit. You know, the ugly broads that are fat and got 3 colors in their hair and can't get any penis. There's no difference. You know, there's a difference. Big differences. Not just in genitalia. There's 2 genders, okay? We can get into this later, because there's 2 genders. Boys don't sit still like girls. If you try and teach them like girls, doesn't work. Doesn't work. Girls will sit still. Girls pay attention. Boys kind of wiggle around for the most part. They have extra energy. So, you gotta do things. One, you gotta bring back classes like shop class, because most boys like to take stuff apart. And not all boys. If some boys wanna, you know, be a secretary, that's fine. You know, if some boys like to read romance novels, hey, that's fine. They're gay, but it's fine. Look, it doesn't matter. If they want to cross over and do different things, if you got a tomboy and a girl likes to work on cars, that's fine. But for the most part, that doesn't happen. Girls like girl things and boys like boy things. There's 2 genders. You can't teach them the same. You got a reading comprehension class or a literature class or whatever, and, you know, you're always given this boring shit to read that boys just fall asleep. If there's romance in it, girls might like it, read it. Boys ain't gonna like that shit, especially younger boys. You've got to give them more choices. You gotta teach for the gender. You gotta show people how this math is related. You gotta bring back shop class, so the boys are busy, and not all of them are gonna go to college, so You gotta give them a skill. They're not gonna want to sit still. Some boys like to move all the time. You know, my father pounded nails his whole life. I don't know if he would have did anything else if he had the choice. But he wasn't the kind of concentrate in school. But he could build shit. He could build you a house like you've never seen. So you gotta understand, some people are better moving, not sitting still. So you gotta give them the education that they need. But instead, what the educational system has done is girls are the gold standard, and we'll just drug all the boys. That's why most of the boys are on the Ritalin and everything else to make them sit still. Instead of educating them differently, they put them on drugs. And these drugs can have massive side effects to some. And also, now, oh, you're feeling down? We'll put you on Prozac. No. They just need to get through it. Because for some of them, it's a shitty time in their life, and they just need to power through it. I know it's rough. I know it's rough. They need to power through it. Drugging them up is not the answer. Okay? A lot of these shooters, if not all of them, were on some sort of drugs. And people, oh, that has nothing to do with anything. I noticed there was no school shootings back when I was in school, and school sucked a lot. It fucking sucked. Nobody came in class and shot anyone up. What was the difference? There's lots of differences. First of all, I didn't know one kid in the neighborhood that was on any kind of depression medication or anything. So, plus, now I know, a lot of you aren't going to like this, but I think also violent video games is probably not good. Girls aren't going to sit around and play them as much as boys. Boys are going to sit there glued to the TV set, especially nowadays, and just shoot the shit out of everybody on the TV set, which is fun, but if you do that hours and hours and hours every day, it gets into your brain. Probably not a good idea. Then you throw drugs into the mix, and you're asking for problems. So, the Democrats like to stand on the bodies of these dead people and dead children. They never let a tragedy go to waste. Never let a fucking tragedy go to waste. These cocksuckers. They love to stand on the bodies of dead people to come get your guns. But guns ain't doing it. You got half the goddamn school population doped up on something. Then you throw in some violent video games. You throw in miseducation. Because you dope the kids up to sit still when you really should be giving them a hobby or helping them find their interests and teaching them in different ways than you teach the girls. Because they absorb it differently, they understand it differently, and they have different interests. Instead, you try and force half the population there to sit still by drugging the shit out of them. So, this is uppity white guy's take on school shootings. Okay? What could be done? We could get not prescribed, overprescribed drugs for these kids. First of all, parents need to pay attention to what they're doing with these video games and limit their time. We played video games too. They weren't quite as violent, I don't think. There were some shooting games, but not like there are today. But even if there were, when do you play them? For hours upon hours upon hours. We went outside. We didn't sit there and play them for hours and hours and hours. This affects a kid's health and mental stability. Parents have to limit that shit. And if they don't, they're not doing their fucking job. Period. So, you got that. You got video games, you got drugs, and you got miseducation. And this is a cocktail for disaster. But instead, it's the guns. They had access to the gun. Nigga, please. They need to stop having access to the drugs less time on the fucking video games. And teachers need to know how to teach. The curriculum needs to change. For boys. For girls, it's okay. You don't see girls shooting up schools. But girls, most of them, not all, but most of them aren't on these drugs. Because they can concentrate better than boys. Boys are always, they got extra energy. Girls can sit still on the whole. Boys don't sit still. It's why you need to bring back shop classes and things like that where they can get involved. And also, change the curriculum. Math is always going to be math. But as far as reading, give boys options, something they're going to be interested in. They can still learn to read, just change the topics. If they're young kids, make it sci-fi or make it about cars or Bigfoot or whatever the hell, and boys will read that shit up. And girls, they can choose something else. Give them a choice. Don't just say, hey, the whole class is going to read about, you know, this Elizabethan era and how the queen was, you know, the boys are already asleep. Okay? You know, come on. If you want to teach them, get them involved. Cater a little bit to the gender. Okay, so lots of things need to change. Taking away the guns ain't going to change shit. The kids are still doped up. It affects their health. They're still being brainwashed by seeing these video games for hours upon hours upon hours upon hours that they play nowadays. And they don't go outside. Their health is not good. They're obese, got the diabetes, and everything else. We didn't have that shit. There was always one fat kid in the neighborhood. One. I'm sorry, man. You were a little overweight, okay? Love you, man. But you were a little overweight, okay? But there was one kid in the neighborhood. Now, everybody's a chubby son of a bitch. They all got man tits. I see kids in this neighborhood that are fat motherfuckers. I don't think I should put anything out for Halloween. I'm doing them a disservice. I don't put out some apples. Fat fucks. But these kids are too much into the video games. And change the education system. They need to know how to teach boys. Not just girls. I guarantee you, the shootings will go down. Wait. But no. We're going to be political about it. Come take your guns. And we're going to use this because we never let a tragedy go to waste. Right. So they don't care. And half of them get donations from pharmaceutical companies. The media won't report on it because ad revenue, pharmaceutical companies. You're not going to learn about half this shit. Unless you listen to me. Now we get back to the guy in Maine. Okay, he was a full-grown adult. But here's the other problem that we have in this country. And I've already touched on this, and you Wiggers know it. I've already mentioned it. This guy that shot people up, it was another thing that slipped through the cracks. How the fuck many times are these people going to slip through the cracks? This guy was already in the hospital just over the summer for mental problems. He should have had a social worker or something following this shit up. He was a firearms instructor that had mental problems. Are you fucking shitting me? Really? That's not a red flag. Nobody did anything about it. I mean, he was in the hospital, but they discharged him. Fuck. This guy already had mental problems and people knew about it. Depending on how bad he was, somebody should have been keeping a close eye on him. They shouldn't have let him have access to weapons and firearms, or he should have been put back in the fucking hospital. It's like these people in New York that are wandering the fucking streets and pushing people on the subway. They shouldn't be walking around. But we don't want to hurt their feelings. Because being mental is a special class. You know, go fuck yourself. They should be in an asylum. They should be being treated with the correct drugs if they got an actual mental problem. But no, we're not going to do that, because they got rights. They don't know their first name, but they got rights. So, you know, now the media uses this guy because he's a he's a right-wing extremist. Yeah, because he's white, right? Meanwhile, there are niggas on the south side of Chicago popping caps in each other every day. I don't say shit about that. But this white guy goes in and shoots people. Ah, he's white. It's the guns. White supremacy. He had mental problems. That's the other issue that we have to tackle in this country. And nobody's doing a fucking thing about it. They're all telling you it's white supremacism. They're all telling you it's the guns. If it was the guns, my guns are still sitting there. They still haven't shot anybody. So, I don't know what the fuck they're talking about. My guns haven't shot it. It's still on the table over there. I can see it from here. Better be careful. It might shoot me. The Democrats use this shit, and shame on them. We're using this crap, using the dead bodies of these people to take law-abiding citizens' guns. And that's what they're trying to do, instead of fixing the actual problem. Kids being overprescribed and actual mental problems not being addressed. This is what is killing people in this country. We've had guns. Fuck, if we didn't have guns, we'd be under British law right now. Damn lineys. Look. Guns built this country. South West was one. We've always had guns. But the reason it's becoming a problem is not the kind of gun, or the fact that guns are here. They've always been here. You didn't hear about these people going crazy all the time. And you didn't hear about these school shootings. We're not addressing the root problems. Guns have always been here. How come there weren't these mass shootings in the 60s and 70s and 50s? Oh yeah, people got shot. There were always guns, so people are always going to get shot, but you didn't hear about schools and these mass shootings with this large number of people. And don't forget about Charlottesville, just a few years ago. Didn't somebody run some people over with his car? Oh, white wing extremist again. How come we're not taking away everybody's cars? They're weapons, right? Well, they could be used as a weapon. Anything could be used as a weapon. Fuck. Don't you know forks make you fat? That's what I'm saying. It's not the apparatus. We're not dealing with the problem. Okay? It's that fucking simple. We are not dealing with the goddamn problem. This guy didn't shoot people because he had a gun. That's the tool he used, but he was suffering mentally, and people knew it. And he was already in a mental facility. That should raise flags up, but yet they let him out, let him go back to whatever he was doing. It's a joke. It's a clear joke. He had been reported before. And he just slipped through the cracks again. But it's a gun's fault. These kids don't need to be on Prozac at 15 years old. It's that fucking simple. It's not guns. Oh, they got a gun. Okay, they got a gun. I agree. But again, kids used to drive to school with gun racks in the back of their truck. But you know what? They weren't on drugs. Well, they might have been on weed or something, but they weren't on Prozac and shit. That's what I'm saying. They just didn't put kids on that shit back then. And you didn't see any school shootings. Coincidence? I don't believe in coincidence. Okay? So, that's my take on it, but politicians won't listen. Media won't listen. Because they're in the pocket of somebody else. They're left-wing extremists. We know they are. And in a nutshell, these politicians just want to take people's guns. They want to take people's guns. And they're going to use this tragedy, which again, shame on them. They're going to use this tragedy to try and do it. And when the next school shooting, they're going to use that tragedy too. Oh, we're going to fix the problem. Meanwhile, they're going to keep drugging the kids. and the guy that's mental still ain't gonna get the help he needs. But we're gonna take the guns, because the guns are the problem. No. But nobody's gonna listen. So again, they're wrong. I'm right, because I know I am. My gun's still over there. It's not shooting anybody unless you come try and take it from me. Then it might shoot somebody. But other than that, still sitting there. It'll be in my car tomorrow. That's about it. Okay? Okay, niggas. It's time to go. Because it's uppity white guy's bedtime. These balls.